going to stay dry through the night, but with fog patches possible. The temperature dropping just below freezing to give a frost where skies are clear, while any breeze is very light. Christmas Day will start frosty in many places. It'll stay dry and bright with some sunshine, but with patches of cloud as well. The temperature should make 8 or 9 degrees. The breeze will be very light and it'll be quite pleasant. So a frosty night, then dry and bright tomorrow, with no chance, I'm sorry to say, of a white Christmas.
As festive rush fizzles out, West stores hope for New Year bonanza.
But Christmas joy for the 5-year-old Somerset girl taking her first steps.
Bishop of Bristol will speak out on homelessness in network broadcast.
We asked the Weather Centre, will it be a white Christmas?
And we'll be telling you
what we're up to
on Christmas Day,
oh, yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Good evening. Stores in the West are tonight hoping for a New Year sales bonanza after the worst Christmas taking for years. Cut price bargains are already being offered in many stores as they try to boost business. And retailers say the only hope now is for the traditional New Year sales to boost their profits and save some of the smaller firms from financial disaster.
Christmas is a time when the paths of the West towns and cities are usually worn down by pounding feet. On Christmas Eve, you'd probably expect Bath to be heaving with shoppers. There's still many around, but traders say there aren't the crowds of previous years. And the shoppers themselves say they've spent more time looking in windows than handing over their cash. In a desperate attempt to entice shoppers in, stores have begun their January sales before Christmas. But the customers aren't convinced that'll work.
They're giving it all they can now. Presumably there's a bit more disappointment in January. People have spent a lot of their money now in the sales.
Well, I wonder what's going to entice people to go into the shops in January if all the sales have started in December.
Plenty of people around, but nobody in the shops. No, I don't think so.
Why do you think that is?
They're all too hard up, aren't they? Recession.
In Bristol, the city centre was quiet today after yesterday's last-minute spending, and it seems shopping habits have definitely changed.
Well, people are being more careful. They're tending to buy goods which have got a useful value rather than something which is, shall we say, a little more frivolous. At that end of the scale, somebody told me, for example, that in the past they might have bought a dress and a teddy bear for their girlfriend. This year they'd only buy the dress.
I mean, you can look today. I mean, there's no one in the streets. And compared with last year, which was a very good year, I'm sure all the shops have been affected in the same way. You know, not only the meat trade, but, you know, every trade. We're still selling turkeys. Obviously, you know, people have their turkeys, but as for other things with it, I believe they're cutting back.
There has been a last-minute shopping rush in Swindon, which some traders say has compensated for the slow build-up to Christmas. But others argue it's been just small gifts bought, not enough to lift sales out of the doldrums. In Gloucester, it was more or less the same story, with only the carol-playing buskers plying a brisk trade. In Yeovil, the turkey shelf had fallen foul of the recession too, as traders say it's been one of the poorest Christmases in years. Even the last-minute bargains weren't a temptation. While some stores fight to keep their trade, for others it's too late to even compete. The recession's hit salesmen and shoppers alike, and drastic measures are needed if tills are to ring in the new year.
But for a 5-year-old Somerset girl, this Christmas has brought the present she wanted most of all, and that's the ability to walk. Phyllis Phillips from Bridgewater suffers from cerebral palsy. She's been crippled since birth, but after treatment at the world-famous Peto Institute in Hungary, she's now able to take her first faltering steps. Jane Solomons reports.
This is the first time 5-year-old Phyllis Phillips has been able to walk to pick up her Christmas presents. Her parents thought they'd never see these steps.
Phyllis is standing, Phyllis is standing, Phyllis is standing tall.
She even has her own celebration song. Phyllis was born with cerebral palsy. She couldn't even stand on her own. She's just returned from 6 weeks treatment at Hungary's Peto Institute. Her teachers gave her intensive therapy and special boots to walk in.
Before she went to Hungary, she
just used to go from A to B, and she was a danger to herself. She used to bump herself on the fire or the television or whatever. And then when the conductors put these boots on, she just stood there and said, I said, Phyllis, don't sit down. And she said, no, it's all right, Daddy. She said, I'm standing. And she stood up ever since, like, and it's just been marvellous. Like.
What did you do at that moment?
Just burst into tears. That was the end of me, like, and I'm sort of, you know, over the moon.
Phyllis, what's it like being able to walk?
Really nice, because I have never walked before. And now I'm actually walking. And I'm really walking all right. But I got to go back to Hungary to walk better. And better all the time.
The regulars at the Black Horse pub on Bridgewater's Hamp Estate raised £4,500 to pay for the treatment. They're preparing a big welcome for Phyllis this Christmas.
I saw her this morning and it was lovely. I've held her in my arms. I haven't seen her walking as yet, but I hope to very soon. I know she's going to be walking in here over Christmas, and the customers are going to be really pleased and happy.
The treatment is effective but very hard work. Phyllis's parents say it's her courage and refusal to give up which means she can walk today.
We used to start the programme then at about 9:10, and then it was working then till 1 o'clock. And Phyllis used to just come home and go straight to bed and thoroughly exhausted, like.
There will be more discomfort, and it's no miracle cure. But for a little girl who wasn't expected to live as a baby, it seems the sky is the limit.
Happy Christmas, Phyllis. Now with more West Country news, here's Bruce.
In Wiltshire, the police are appealing for information about a crash in which an off-duty police officer was killed. 32-year-old Christopher Regilou, who was based at Chippenham, died when his sports car and a taxi were in collision near Caen. The cab driver's in hospital with leg injuries. An investigation still going on into a blaze at stables on the Mendips near Cheddar. One horse was killed and 2 others were so badly injured that they may have to be destroyed. Fire crews from both Somerset and Avon took an hour to bring the blaze under control at Charterhouse. Civic leaders at Weston-super-Mare have welcomed the Environment Secretary's approval for a development on the resort's former airfield. The project's expected to create 3,000 new jobs and will mean about 300 acres being handed to Woodspring Council as a public leisure area. But Mr Heseltine says parts of the airport must be kept as a green buffer between the new resort and nearby villages.
The Bishop of Bristol, the Right Reverend Barry Rogerson, will be taking up the problem of homelessness in a Christmas address to be broadcast live from Bristol Cathedral tomorrow morning. He's preaching the sermon during a Christmas Day service to be covered by HTV's outside broadcast cameras for the ITV network. Well, today he's been taking part in the final preparations for the broadcast, as Bob Crampton reports.
Today, the cathedral was wired for sound and vision. An outside broadcast unit has moved in with 6 cameras, 28 microphones and more than 40 giant lights to bring the service live to over 3 million viewers tomorrow morning. The rehearsal is as much about keeping the hardware out of shot as getting the precision of the religious celebration just right. Centre stage will be the Bishop of Bristol, who admits that apart from the usual Christmas message, his sermon to the country will include some thorny political issues.
I'd like to look at the way people are left on the edge, so I'd like to talk a little bit about gypsies and travellers and the homeless people in Bristol.
Is that going into local politics?
Oh, well, the answer is yes, of course it's going into local politics, but politics are about people, and I've seen what's been happening, felt uncomfortable with a number of other Christians about the way in which it seems to be going, and I would hope that we might just think seriously that they are people. They don't live the same way as we do, but in God's world, there's an inclusiveness. Everybody's involved.
But much of the hour-long programme will be the formal celebration of Christmas, traditional readings and carols. It's the first time the seasonal service has come from the cathedral. The television producer believes it'll be impressive.
All of the country people will be watching this. We want to make Bristol Cathedral look good, because it does look good. A lot of people don't know how good it is. We want it to look as beautiful as it is.
By this evening, the technicalities had been ironed out. It's now down to human performance, particularly from the bishop speaking from the pulpit.
Are you nervous?
I'm not sure yet. I'd rather you didn't make me nervous. I've had to think about it. I think basically, as long as I remember that I'm talking to individual human beings with names, John, Mary, Peter, whatever it is, and homes, then it'll be all right, yes.
The Bishop's words and the service will be broadcast on the ITV network from 9:25 tomorrow morning. So now it's just a matter of hours before Bristol becomes the focus of religious viewing, with the congregation growing from a few hundred to millions.
Well, Christmas...